This is the story about the founder who built the most valuable luxury brand in the world. In 1875, a small boy was born named Ferdinand Porsche. He was born in Bohemia, part of Austria-Hungary at the time. Ferdinand was the third child in a family of 5. At a young age, Ferdinand showed an interest in electricity that was an up-and-coming technology at the time. As a teen, he worked in his father's workshop during the day and went to Polytechnical College at night. He started working for his father after his older brother died during a workshop accident. This would have been, of course, a very tragic moment for him in his life. But despite of all that, he was very lucky because the region where he was born was at the cutting edge of electric technology and was a leading factor of the start of the electrification of Europe at the time. At 13, he installed an electric doorbell at his parents' house, and at 16 he installed light bulbs there too. What at the time was very out of the ordinary. They were one of the first to have them. When he turned 18, thanks to a referral, he was hired by Bella Egrenco, a company in Vienna which was also part of Austria-Hungary back then. The company made low and high current devices like incandescent lamps. While working in Vienna, he went to Vienna University of Technology and went there when he could after work, but he did not complete a formal engineering education. After his 5-year stint at Bella Egrenco, he went to work for Jacob Lohner & Co., a coach builder that builds horses carriages for people of royalty and class. Here he worked on making the company's first wheel-up motor, a invention first developed by an American inventor. It's a motor that is contained in the wheel itself. This type of motor is still used today in stuff like the electric bike. He used the motor in a car that was shown at the Paris World Exposition. The Egger Lohner was the first 4-wheel drive car. The car made use of these wheel-up motors and large lead-acid batteries. These batteries turned out to be a big mistake because they weighed 1.8 tons and they slowed them down a lot, especially in the hills. It also suffered from limited range. After he helped build the Jacob Lohner, he built the Lohner Porsche, a hybrid car in 1901. The world's first hybrid car in fact. It still used the same motors but didn't use the heavy lead batteries. They replaced them with an internal combustion engine built by Daimler. The engine was used to make electric energy that was then used by the motors. They sold 300 of them in the form of trucks, buses and fire engines. The Lohner Porsche went 65 km per hour and broke Austrian speed records at the time. It also won a rally where Ferdinand Porsche himself was driving. Shortly after, he was drafted in 1902. There he chauffeured Archduke Ferdinand, yes, that Archduke Ferdinand, the one who got shot. This incident will later start World War I. He was given the task mostly because he was a brilliant auto designer and the Duke himself was impressed by the car that he had built. While he was working for Lohner, he had a kid, a daughter. She was born in 1904. Ferdinand became a brilliant and famed designer. For the achievements he had made, Ferdinand was given an award in 1905 for the most outstanding automotive engineer in Potting, a small town in Austria. In 1906, Ferdinand left Lohner and went to work for Austria Daimler, the company that supplied the motors for the Lohner Porsche. He was a chief designer. This prestigious position was very well paid and also started to make him the rich man he later became. His son was born in 1909. He named him Ferry Porsche. He is the person who's mostly responsible for the car company we know today. At Daimler, he was responsible for cars like the Prince Henry, which was made for the Prince Henry Trail, which he won with himself driving. This event was a precursor to the German Grand Prix, and at Daimler he also designed the less powerful Maya. In 1914, a storm was brewing when Archduke Ferdinand was killed in his car. This started the First World War. But he had it coming though because he wasn't driving a car designed by Porsche. In the war he designed under Daimler the Landwehr train that was designed to go both on railroads and normal roads. He did also design trucks for the army. In 1916, for his work on designing aircraft engines, he received the honorary doctorate. He received it from the Vienna University of Technology, the same school he often went to. After the war, Ferdinand continued to create racing cars for the company, like the Sasha, which Porsche claims to be the first two-seater sports car. In the Sasha he won the very first race he entered. It's now 1923 and Ferdinand left Daimler because of a difference of opinion on the future of the company. But he returned a few months later and became the technical director. Here he was responsible for the S, the SS, the SSK, the Sport, Supersport Kurs, but he was also responsible for trucks and aero engines. He left again in 1928, this time for real. He went when Daimler and Benz NC merged and became the now known Mercedes-Benz, because the board wanted a less ingenious but more economical designer for making better profits. After Daimler, Ferdinand wanted to make his own company, so he made a consulting company for motors and vehicles. He managed to start the company with some financial backing from his son-in-law and also by taking some good workers he befriended at Daimler with him. But we're missing one person. He also included his son to become his heir later in life. The company designed turbines and car concepts for Wanderer and Sundap, but one of the most iconic designs was for the Auto Union, the now known Audi. He designed this 16-cylinder sports car that inspired the now Formula 1 design ethos. It of course was one of the most successful race cars of its time and planted him firmly in the Hall of Fame of race car designers. At the Berlin Motor Show, the now German Chancellor Adolf Hitler announced his plan for the people of Germany. His plan was that every German family should own a car or a tractor. To achieve this, he unveiled a project called the People's Car or Volkswagen. So Porsche started designing his version of the People's Car. Other manufacturers were considered, but Porsche ended up winning the contract. In 1935, the first 2 prototypes were made in his villa by his engineering team. The R&D process lasted for 4 years. Ferdinand had designed the Volkswagen Beetle, his most famous design. A design suspiciously similar to the Tarta V570. This resulted in a lawsuit regarding an air-cooled rear engine design. A new Volkswagen factory was built in 1938 to make the Beetle. But the Beetle and the lawsuit was interrupted by something very big. Another storm was brewing, this time a very big one, World War II. Because of the war, the factory wasn't making Beetles, but cars for the war effort. Like the Kubbelwagen, a multi-version of the Beetle, and the Schwimmwagen, a amphibious car that Ferdinand designed. He resigned his Czech passport and by Hitler was urged to apply for a German one because Hitler did not like the Czechs. He even used SS security personnel and drivers and set up a unit called SS Sturmwerk Volkswagen. He was given the rank of SS Oberführer in 1942. He became known as a mad scientist mainly due to his new love of pointy designs. In the war, Ferdinand was given a chance to design the new tank, the Tiger. Ferdinand's design was called the Tiger P for Porsche, but the design ended up losing. The contract ended up going to another company because of the complexity of the tank and the amount of copper needed for the hybrid powertrain, which was in short supply during the war. A few chassis were already built, so they repurposed them into a heavy tank destroyer, the Elephant. Used to destroy enemy tanks, it had a KD ratio, a kill to death ratio of 10:1. But they weren't a big success because they often got stuck and due to shortage during the war they didn't get enough maintenance to keep them running. The VW factory used forced labor and actively asked for more while being aware of the gruesome work conditions. They used 300 forced laborers, some Poles, some Russians. For this and the personal ties to Hitler and the war effort, Ferdinand and his son Ferry were arrested as war criminals and sent to prison. The family was very deceptive about the use of these laborers and the help in the war. His son was released after just 6 months and then worked on keeping the family company running. Ferdinand was forced to work for Renault but shortly after was bailed out by Ferry, due to a contract with Cisitalia that gave the Porsche family enough money to do so. The bailout was 1 million francs, a lot of money at the time. By now the company started a new design, the Porsche 356, the first car to carry the Porsche name and the first real Porsche. The Porsche was heavily based on the VW Beetle and was mostly designed by his son Ferry. It even used some Beetle parts. Shortly after, Ferry took over his mantle. Ferry pulled the Porsche brand we know today and ended up building a number of cars. Ferdinand passed away after he visited the VW factory to talk about the VW Beetle. The car had been in production for some time now, but a week later Ferdinand had a stroke and never fully recovered. He ended up dying on the 30th of January 1951. He still lived to see the Beetle become the mass-produced family car he was asked to build. He left a big legacy, some good times and some very dark times, but sometimes good and bad isn't as clear as it seems in hindsight. The Porsche brand grew to become the most valuable luxury brand of today. The life that Ferdinand Porsche lived for his family was looking back on it, laying the groundwork for the Porsche brand and also training his son Ferry to become an excellent designer. Porsche turned into a company with a big heritage in everything sport and race car related. It's a company that always sticks to its roots. And everything wouldn't have been possible without Ferdinand himself, a brilliant car designer and mad scientist.